Hello everybody. So, sorry I didn't get to this earlier today. We had a kind of, interesting day today and it was rather busy. So there's lots of stuff to kind of update you guys on today. As you can see, I have this big thing in my lip. I guess we'll address that first. I had put on pink champagne today and my lip like literally broke midway through the day, just split, and I think it just split from upset during a cab ride that we had in protest of everything, but I'll talk about that in a little while. So, woke up today, felt hopeful, try to start every day off hopeful, had a rough night. Mom and I had a really rough time at bedtime. Not really going to focus on that because that's kind of private, but just Mom and I had a rough time at bedtime. So we woke up and kind of started fresh, which felt really good. So we were really hopeful in the morning to start off, and that felt really good. So got up and decided, hey, we were going to start out the day hopeful and happy and all that kind of stuff. So yay. And like I said, put on the lip sense, and then this ended up happening somewhere during the cab ride. My lip just split, so that was not so fun, and it kind of hurts. So I'll definitely put on some lip balm and hopefully heal that up. But so we went, and Mom's treatment went fairly well, and the cab ride there, we went down early, and there was a cab already there. So they were like, hey, since there's a cab already here, we'll see if we can't have you just go with them. So we were like, okay. Well, right as we were about to get into that cab, our cab showed up, and the guy was nice enough to say, you just go with the cab that was here first. That's cool, because the cab drivers knew each other. And we had driven with both cab drivers, and so it was cool either way with us, and it was cool either way with them, so it all worked out. So we ended up getting to the hospital a little early. Mom got to go in at a reasonable time. Everything was going great. So then we knew that she was going to have IV fluids today, so that wasn't a shock. What was kind of a shock was that after she was all set up, it went better in terms of like the nurse was able to get it in quickly, fairly painlessly and whatever, but then she dropped the bomb of, it's going to be a lot slower today because we're going to time it out, and it's going to be a little bit over 2 hours. And that my mom didn't know in advance, and that really upset her. So that upset her. She didn't want to stay that long. And so then the doctor came in and explained why she was having it done that way and tried to calm Mom down, and told us that we could get Wi-Fi down in the basement and how to make it work. And so we were able to watch some of the charity marathon that's going on right now from my phone. And thankfully my phone was charged enough that it didn't die, and we would have like enough battery to be able to call the cab still and everything like that. So Mom's spirits were lifted slightly to be able to see a little bit of the charity marathon, which was really good. She was able to see our good friend Gaming Phobia stream and talk with him a little bit while she was actually getting her IV fluids. So that was kind of cool and neat, and a special experience for her and for everybody that was in the room at the time, and all of that stuff. The unfortunate thing, though, for that was that the chair was really uncomfortable, and it hurt her legs a lot, and it made her leg fall asleep and her foot fall asleep. And no matter how many times we tried to reposition her or give her pillows or adjust the chair or adjust her, it just was not comfortable, and it was not working out well. And I kept trying to help, and nurses tried to help, and it just was not going well. And 2 hours seems like an eternity when you're in pain and you're not feeling well. And I hated the helpless feeling that I was feeling from my perspective, because, you know, I have to be the bad guy that says, I can't get you out of this and I can't make it better, and all of the things that I'm suggesting to make it better aren't making it better. And it was a rough spot. But I was able to say that, hey, once we got back to the hotel room, we could have cake, because the night before I had picked up a coconut cake to celebrate my birthday, because we had picked it up last night, because I didn't get a birthday cake on my birthday because the place we wanted to get it from was closed. So we picked it up last night, and then last night we didn't get around to having any. So that was like a little something to look forward to. But still, that kind of incentive still doesn't make you feel better in the moment. So it was like a fleeting happy thing. And then, strangely enough, I didn't say it at the time because I knew that it wouldn't help anything, but the machine has like a read on it, and it says like how much is coming down or how much is I don't know what it was, but there was like a large number for most of the time that it was going, and then I was on the other side of the room, so I couldn't look at the number, and the number was getting increasingly like lower and less was coming out. So I wasn't sure if that was a good thing, like, hey, we're almost done, or hey, something funky is wrong with it and it's not going right. And I wasn't sure which, and I didn't want to say anything and like make Mom even more upset, because she was starting to get really upset and like really ready to go. But then it started to beep that it was done, and she was ready with the call button to say like, we're ready to go, get this IV out of me, it is time to move. So that was definitely a thing. Then, tomorrow, her doctor's going to take, some blood after her treatment and, run the labs and see what her kidney function is. So, basically what happened was, the reason why she's getting these IV fluids is because they ran some labs, yesterday, right? It was yesterday. Yeah, it was yesterday. They ran some labs yesterday, and the kidney function came back lower than it was supposed to be. So it's supposed to be a 7, and hers was 1.1, which is not good. So basically what they're thinking is that the combination of the radiation and dehydration were causing that. So that's not good. And they don't want her to go into renal failure or heart failure or lung failure. So to prevent all of that, they're pushing IV fluids. But they can't push them too quickly, because if they do that, all of those things will shut down and have problems. So to avoid that, they have to go in at a steady rate as to not affect all those organs. So poor Mom had to do the 2-hour IV drip today. But tomorrow she does not have to have an IV drip if her lab results come back okay. So our fingers are crossed that because she has been hydrating tonight, and because she got the IV fluids these past 2 days, her results are going to come back a lot better, and she's not going to need the IV fluids. So everybody, please cross your fingers that it comes back much improved and we don't need to go down that road again, because Mom will not be a happy camper, and it'll be a very rough day tomorrow on her birthday if that has to happen. She does not want to spend her birthday with an IV in. So let's all say a little prayer that doesn't happen. Let's see what else. Then I called and asked for a cab to come get us. And Mom was already really, really tired and not feeling well and just wanting to come back and rest and get into her jammies and just chill out. And they were running late. Like, they were having a hard time finding someone to come get us. I don't know what the issue was, but like, we were waiting for quite a long time, and that was frustrating. But sometimes that happens, so I wasn't surprised. I wasn't necessarily upset about it, but I'm not the one going through cancer treatment, so I can understand Mom's perspective and her upset, but I can also understand the cab company, you know, doing the best they can from their end. So I was kind of in the middle on this. When someone did come, he was rude from the beginning. It said right in our thing when it comes up that we have a fold-up wheelchair. It says that we need help in putting the wheelchair into the cab. It says that one of us needs to sit in the front seat. All of these things are documented in the call. So when you're a driver, all of that pops up on your screen and it's detailed. It even says the one driver that we reported the other day that he's not to be our driver. All of those things come up. So it is not a surprise or a shock to the driver who decides to pick us up that we have these needs, and these needs must be accommodated if you pick us up. So he pulls up and he has his junk in the front seat. So Mom's like, because when she opens the door, his stuff is there. So I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. Can you move your stuff? I'm sorry. They must not have told you that, you know, we were coming because you're not prepared. And he's like, oh, I just don't understand why you need that. And so I'm like, okay, well, we do. So if you could please. And he just gave us attitude, and I was like, well, I'm sorry for the inconvenience. And he's like, oh, well, it is an inconvenience. And he was just very, very rude. And then he just kind of threw his stuff in the back of the cab where the wheelchair went. And he was just very, very rude. And he was like, so where are you going? And it was written right in front of him. So I told him politely, and he was like, okay. So then he starts speeding, almost hitting people, braking really rapidly. Like, he couldn't wait to get away from us. Mom had a hard time getting in the cab. He was no help or assistance. He just stood there watching us, like lording over us with his arms crossed, scowling as if we were wasting his time. As I'm trying to assist her in getting in the cab, and she's weak and she's tired and she's crying, literally weeping, trying to get into the cab, having a hard time. And he's just standing there being a jerk. And I was like, I'm going to report this guy. I can't take this. Like, this is horrible. Like, you are a horrible human being. How can you be this way? And then, when we finally got to the hotel, he took my card and he was like, here you go, and like threw the thing at me, and I was like, yeah. So I just signed it really quick, and he like scoffed when he saw that I wasn't giving him a tip. Well, why would I tip you? You haven't done anything worthy of a tip, except like be rude the whole entire time. Like, he has a clipboard and it was in between him and Mom. There was no reason for him to pick it up, and he was picking it up like, oh, I don't have any place to put it, like, because she was in the front seat. He had plenty of room to put it somewhere. He was just having a tantrum because he didn't have the whole front seat to put his crap. And he was just like trying to get into an accident with a BMW a couple of times. He was speeding through the streets. He wasn't using blinkers at all. He was like speeding past a cop car. I mean, he was just being reckless with his driving. Like, and it's not me exaggerating either. If you were in the car, you guys would all have had the same experience that I did, verbatim. It's not me being a drama queen about this. Because if I wanted to be a drama queen about it, I would totally be saying more things than I am saying currently. So when we got there, I got out and he opened the back hatch of the minivan thing, and I went back there because I thought, oh, maybe he'll help me get the wheelchair out. No, he was going back there to get his crap out because him putting his crap in the front seat of his van was more important to him than helping me get the wheelchair out to help my mom to get into the hotel. So I literally cussed and said, fuck it, and grabbed the wheelchair myself, took it out of the cab, and helped my mother into the hotel. And when he came back to look at me, he like threw my credit card and the receipt at me. And I was like, thank you very much. And he said, whatever. And he went back into his cab and left. And I took my mother inside, and the first thing that I did was come inside, grab my phone, call his bosses, and say, I never want that person to drive us ever again. Please put that in my file. And this is exactly what happened verbatim. And it just happened. So it's fresh in my mind. And they were like, can you say that a little slower? Because I'm taking notes. And you never have to have him again. And I can't believe that happened because you guys have literally used us for like weeks on end, daily, and you've brought us a lot of money, and you shouldn't be treated like that, and especially somebody who's going through cancer. And I was like, well, that was my thought exactly. And obviously I didn't give him a tip because I didn't feel that was tip worthy. So now there are 2 people listed on our account that we are never to deal with ever again because they behaved this way. And I feel bad being a whistleblower, but I mean, come on. Like, really? How old was he? He was like 35, 40? Having a full-on temper tantrum, throwing things. He threw his crap in the front seat before Mom was out and hit her with it. Hit a cancer patient with their crap. Because having their crap in the front seat was that important. Like, the audacity of this dude has no bounds. No bounds. So that happened today. Then after that, I called back the American Cancer Society because I had contacted them yesterday about hotel accommodations for during the brachytherapy because we only had coverage for this week as far as I knew. It turns out we had coverage for the 5th and the 6th of February, but not beyond that. So I contacted them now that we have the final dates for the rest of the treatment, and they were just calling back to confirm what the dates were, and so now they're working on securing us hotel rooms moving further into the future. So they're working on that, and will get back to us on that. So I talked to them about that. So we don't know exactly where we're going to be 100% beyond the 5th and the 6th. We're trying to make it the 5th, 6th, and 7th. We're at the same hotel in the same room. They're working really hard to secure that, but I don't know that they can guarantee it. If not, I think we're going to try to pay out of pocket to make that happen because I don't want her to have to move hotels or rooms in the middle of a treatment week like that. It's just too much for her, and she's going to be in a weakened state, and we're going to be trading treatments and all of that kind of stuff. It's just too much. And I tried to explain that to them in great detail, but the way that they do things is not always when you're dealing with money and you're dealing with logistics, they don't always consider the best needs of the patient. Do you see what I'm saying? It's like when you're weighing all of those things, sometimes the other components outweigh that. And for me, I would rather pay out of pocket and take the hit ourselves for her comfort than worry about the bottom line. Whereas they have to worry about the bottom line because even though they're a charity, they rely on donations from other people and different things like that. So we'll see how it rolls. I still haven't seen what they can do yet. We'll see what happens, but I have a backup plan in case that falls through. So we'll see what the American Cancer Society can do for us. But I have a backup plan in case that falls through for the 5th, 6th, and 7th, because we have the 5th and the 6th covered with them, but I want the 5th, 6th, and 7th for her, because I don't want her to have to do, like, you know, if they come to me and say, we want you to do a whole new hotel on the 7th, or a whole new room on the 7th, or something, like, that's just not going to fly. It has to be consistent for that week, you know, kind of thing. So, I'll see what I can work out for that. So, yeah, we had to report a cabbie today. We had to deal with IV fluids today. We had to deal with trying to figure out the American Cancer Society thing today. But we made it. We got back to the hotel room. We had the cake, the coconut cake. It was delicious. Nobody had any major potty problems from it, I don't think. I think we didn't have any major tummy upsets from it, so that was good. And we decided to treat ourselves to some room service this evening, which Mom's got a little messed up. And they didn't get it 100% right. They forgot half of her order. But, however, she did have some delightful mushrooms that have not upset her stomach so far. So that is a plus. And I had a burger that was tasty. They didn't have pizza today, which was sad. I really wanted pizza, but... and I had a Pepsi in a chilled glass with ice, so I feel a little spoiled. And, it has been a pretty good evening overall. Just trying to calm down from the outrage of that cabbie, because my blood is still boiling over that. And I know having me drone on about that dude and how outrageous he was, but I mean, he threw stuff at her and it hit her. And I mean, she's a cancer patient. You don't throw things at cancer patients. You just don't. And you don't speed through the streets of Madison with a cancer patient as your passenger. And you just, they're just things you don't do, you know? And it just, I'm so glad I reported him. I mean, you know, if that's what he's gonna do with precious cargo, you know, what is he gonna do with the average person that maybe isn't as fragile, you know? I mean, it was upsetting to me. It was very upsetting to me. It could be your loved one that person's taking, you know, their life into his hands. Do you really want to trust that dope with your life? I mean, I really wouldn't. I mean, jeez. And he was a dope, a complete dope. And I do not say that lightly. I am not a judgy person. But that guy was reckless. 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 So reckless. So reckless with other people's lives, and it just was so upsetting to me. So upsetting. My blood pressure. I gotta remember my blood pressure, or it's gonna be through the roof. And then my boyfriend would be very upset for me talking about this, but then to add to this day, my poor boyfriend went home to pick up his bag full of magic cards and things to go to our local game store, and the neighbor across the hall, the neighbors, not just one, across the hall, decided that they were going to come out of their apartment, and they've been doing all sorts of nonsense for months, but they decided to come out from their apartment and start nonsense and threaten him. And I'm sorry, that's just ridiculous. And he reported that and did the right thing and made record of it because he'd had enough, finally. But I've had enough for months of this, and I think it's ridiculous. And, I mean, they threatened violence, and, I mean, he's not afraid of it. And he's not intimidated by it. But I think that's ridiculous. That people think that that's okay. That they can threaten people that way. And that they can be so stupid And you know, I don't like using that word. I don't like that word. But that's the first thing that just came to my mind, that people can be that ignorant's a better word. Ignorant is such a better word. That people can be that ignorant and that hateful and that cruel, that they think that they can just use those words and threaten people and just try to intimidate people. For what? Walking up the stairs? If you don't like apartment living, move out. Buy a house. Live in your car. I don't care what you do. I mean, today, people just are so upsetting to me today. That cab driver, the people across the way. I mean, and you know, the funny thing is, these people never do those things to our roommate or to me. They only do it to my boyfriend. And I think it's because they know that he's too kind-hearted to appropriately respond to them. Because if they were to try it with me, or if they were to try it with our roommate, we would fight back and we would tell them where they can shove it. But they know that my boyfriend won't do that. He will handle it with kindness, and he will take the high road, and he won't tell them where to go. And they know it. And they mistake that kindness and that intelligence and that taking the high road as weakness. And he is not a weak man by any means. He's just trying not to get in trouble. And he's trying to be smart about it. And he's going to the right and proper channels about it. Whereas I'm more hot-headed about it, and so is our roommate. Our roommate just doesn't care, and he's like, do whatever you want, I don't care. And I'm hot-headed and emotional about things, and I would just tell them where to go, and we would get in a fight in the middle of the hallway, because I just would not have it, and would not stand for it. I tell you, today was just one of those days. But all of those things are done now. And now I'm here with you beautiful people. And so I think what we can learn from today, and what I was kind of talking about in my last live for my beauty group, was that sometimes things that seem really, really hard or difficult or like take a lot of time, we don't want to do it because we think it takes too much effort. But the things that take the most effort sometimes are the most worthy things or the better things. And I'm finding that with life. Sometimes the scarier things are the things that are most worth it. So I had a conversation with my boyfriend tonight, and I said, here are some goals I think that we should have for this year. And I think that we should strive for them. What do you think? And he seemed to like those. So we have some goals that we want to accomplish this year. And maybe they're not the dreams that we wanted to accomplish this year. Maybe we're working on smaller goals first, shorter dreams first. But we're not going to get to the long-term ones if we don't do the short-term ones. And maybe we have to slow our roll a little bit, but that doesn't mean we can't think about the bigger ones. That doesn't mean the bigger ones aren't still there. It doesn't mean we're not still thinking about them and talking about them. It just means we need to work really hard to get these short-term ones done first, and we'll get there. And we'll get there together. And we're excited about that, and we have that to look forward to. So I feel really fortunate and really proud to be on this journey with him and to be on this ride we call life. And I am really tired. It has been a long day, but I just wanted to update you on all of those things, on Mom, what happened at the hospital, what happened with the cabbie, what happened with all the things. And now you know, and hopefully tomorrow on Mom's birthday we will have happy news about her kidney levels, and happy news about what happened with her treatments, and happy news in general, and no more bad cabbie stuff or bad cabbie stories, and more happy updates from the Hilton. See you guys next time. Have a great night, everybody.